Hey guys, it's Annie and I have my good friend Carissa Johnsen here with me today, and she happens to be a medium. And the first time I met Carissa, my aunt who passed away last year came through, and today we want to share that experience because it changed my life. And I've told you like so many times how much it seriously has changed my perspective of reality, and I want my people to hear about the experience and all that you do.
Yes, I'm really excited and so honored to be here. And for those of you who are really interested in mediumship and spirituality, this video is definitely going to be for you. So I'm happy that you're here, and thank you so much for having me.
Yay! So where do we even start? I guess before we get into the experience that I had with you, how long have you had these abilities?
Yeah, so when it comes to intuitive gifts and mediumship abilities, everyone has them. So I want to say that I've had it for my entire life, although I haven't known that. I grew up with a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression, and so I numbed in a lot of ways, and I wasn't really able to tap into those gifts. And as I got older and dove more into spirituality, I really realized that what I was experiencing in my body wasn't necessarily a mental health issue, but more or less psychic openness, consciousness, and just me pushing it away and me pushing it down. And so I really didn't realize how to manage these emotions and these gifts, because everyone has different abilities. Mm-hmm. Some people are more auditory, some people feel more, some people hear messages, some people smell certain things. So for me, I had all of these emotions, all these experiences, not really knowing what to do with it. And as I got older, and I think, maybe a couple of years ago, I started to realize maybe some of this is really not a mental health issue. And then when I hired a spiritual mentor last year, she really helped me hone in on those abilities, really feel the worthiness, and also just having that trust factor to really express it in a safe space, which is most of the reason why people don't share it, is they don't trust themselves. They think, oh, I'm making this up, or this is my ego, or whatever. And a lot of times it's actually guidance from, whether they be family members or sometimes spirit guides or angels. We're always getting communication, and especially from our loved ones. So I think I've had it my entire life, but it wasn't really until the past couple of years that I've really honed in on it.
Yeah. Another thing I want to address, because I've had people reach out, even when I talk about manifestation and law of attraction, that like, this stuff is bad, it's evil, all of that. And knowing you're so safe, and you pray, and you are very intentional. So can you speak a little on that for any of those who question?
Yeah, and I'm glad that people do. I'm glad that people question it, because we should. We should question and challenge everything from a loving perspective. And, I think sometimes I take it too seriously, where I'm like, okay, we gotta like cleanse, we gotta pray, we gotta do all these things. But just like everything in life, what happens is there's this beautiful duality. We have sadness, we have happiness, we have black, we have white, we have up, we have down, we have good, we have bad, positive and evil. So there is an energetic duality to everything in life. So with energy, it's the same thing. We can tap into things that maybe aren't helpful, but as long as we're really grounded in our energy, have good intentions with what we're doing, and we have a high vibration, you will not. It's impossible. Energy is energy. Like attracts like. Mm-hmm. So if you're in a positive vibration and you feel really good and you're doing it for the right reasons, you're not good. It's literally impossible to tap into negative energy. So that's why before we do cards, before we channel, before I do anything, I set sacred space. I put my intention out there. I ask for love and light. I ask for guidance. I let the universe and my family members who are trying to connect, and those who are on the other side, angels, know that I'm doing it for love and light and for those purposes. So there is a duality of life, but there's a very small percentage that you would ever tap into that. As long as you're in a really good vibration and have really positive intentions, that likelihood is it's nearly impossible for you to tap into that. I just want to say that you are so protected. For those of you who are listening to this, if you're in Annie's energy, which you're likely here for because you're attracted to her, it's literally impossible for you to connect to any of that type of energy, because it's not within you. You have a high vibration, and if you keep that high vibration and you do it for the right reasons, you're not going to tap into anything like that.
I guess now, unless you have anything else you want to go into on the topic, we can just talk about our experience, because this was the first time we met. I didn't even know you had these abilities. You had no idea who I was. I didn't know who you were.
Yeah, I want to say before we dive into it, because I think there's really good information to kind of preface this with, which what I was saying before is that everyone does have these abilities. It's really just important that if you feel led to trust that, if you're led to this video to trust that, I would not be where I'm at with these gifts if I didn't allow myself to express them. And I say this all the time to my audience, which is, everyone has the ability, like everyone has the ability to sing. That some people are born really strong singers, like, oh my gosh, that person has a gift, like they are a star, and you know that. And then there's other people who can sing. Like if I tried right now, I could sing. Not very good, but I could sing, right? So everyone has the ability, but some people may need a coach, some people may need guidance, some people need more practice, but doesn't mean that no one can sing. Everyone can sing. So with my gifts, what we experience is not unlike anything that you can't. It just takes time, it takes trust, it takes understanding and patience and working really at it. Some people are born with it and go like that, and some people really need a little bit more time. And so the experience that we had really surprised me as well, because I was really just starting to trust that, and I felt so safe around you to share that. But I remember just being in the energy of these women and sitting around her, and I was trying to have a conversation. And then I kept getting distracted. I'm like, what is this? I kept feeling pulled towards Annie. And that's a lot of the ways that I experience it, is when I'm having conversations. Even right now, I feel that pull, like that wants to like say things and do things. And that's what it happens in my body, is I get really distracted. So I've had a conversation with some of my clients where they say, you know, I talk with friends, I talk with family, and I lose my train of thought. I get really distracted. And that was my entire life. I thought that I was weak. I thought that I was, you know, like I killed my brain cells. I thought I did something wrong in order to be distracted by that. Most people who experience ADHD, ADD, anxiety, or distraction are likely getting messages, and so it takes them off course. So getting back to what we were saying is that when we first met, I just kept feeling pulled to, I'm like, somebody here wants to communicate, and that sometimes I channel it, and sometimes like I'm just pulled to the message. And when I was around you, I just felt this overpowering emotion of like, connect with her, talk with her. There is a message that needs to be delivered. And I kept saying that. I'm like, I think that there's something that's happening here. And I asked, I said, you know, I am not available for it right now, but we will have this conversation later. So with your family, with your loved ones, with anything that you're communicating, you also can set those boundaries and say, I'm not available for that right now. Like they're like friends. They're just like excited to talk. So when you have that experience happen, if you're not available for it right now, or you don't want to do it, or you're doing something else, you can also set that boundary and say no. And so I was like, okay, like we're going to wait a little bit. I don't know this person. I don't even know if she believes that. I don't want to fully dive in and make her weirded out or whatever.
But as soon as you said that, I got goosebumps, because you said, I feel like it's an ant. And I just lost my aunt last year, and it was like a big deal for me, you know? I grew up in mediums. To me, I was told that like it's a bad thing, don't go there, all of that stuff. But I was always interested and intrigued, and I was always thinking, like, any of my loved ones, there are only a few of them that I was close to that have passed, but if any of my loved ones really want to talk to me, like, please, like, have a medium approach me and like it come to me, and it did. So I was like, wow.
They say it's just like that. Whenever you're spiritually ready, the teacher will show up. And the same thing is with guidance. When it comes from your loved ones or whatever, if you ask for it, they will show up. But the key with this work is you have to ask for guidance, because there is the law of non-intervention, that most of the time your loved ones and your spirit guides will not communicate with you unless you say, I'm available for this. So you asking for that was the reason I was able to connect so quickly, and the reason why we were probably led to each other from the beginning.
And I told you like later on that after my aunt passed away, like that night, that like she went around 3 in the morning, and she was at the end of her life, like she had cancer and whatnot, but I woke up at 3 with just like this intense energy, like I can't even explain what my body felt like, and the first thing that popped in my mind was my aunt just passed away, like she's gone. And then around 5 in the morning, I heard my messenger go off on my phone, and I was like, that's someone telling me my aunt's gone. And I woke up, and that's what the message said. And it was really nice though, because that afternoon, some doves, morning doves, popped up on my patio, and I looked up the meaning, and it was all about guidance, and that your loved ones have passed on, but they love you, and all of this, like, just a perfect message. And I was like, my aunt's okay. Because she had a rough life, and in my upbringing, it's like, if you didn't live a perfect life, you're gonna go and burn in hell for life. So it's like, my aunt's okay.
She did burn in hell.
She did, you know? So, and then you, with the experience with you, it's like, my aunt's still there. Like, she's there.
And that's the thing, which is why I love this work, and why I feel like I was led to do this work more and more is because I feel like it's so important that people know that when somebody leaves the physical world doesn't mean that they are dead. Their physical body is just not here, but your spirit never dies. Your spirit goes on to another dimension, and you can always communicate with them, and they're always giving you messages in feathers, in just downloads where you're like, oh, I feel like somebody passed. Like that feeling, that emotion, those chills like I just got, feathers, just so many different things that are leading us to guidance to let us know that we're safe, it's okay to be here, that we're led, that they're okay. There's so many messages and so much guidance to know that like you are not alone in this. You have a divine team of people. Your family members are always guiding you and supporting you. And it's just, I think, really important for people to know that this work is here to help remind us that they never pass away. And there's obviously, you want to grieve and you want to mourn with them physically leaving, of course, but just remembering that they're not gone, that you get to communicate with them, and it gets to be a beautiful journey of that they're just not physically here.
So after the pool, later we decided to do an actual session.
Yes.
But before that, like midway between those two times, we were sitting at the table and she was still coming through. Yeah. And I remember one thing that you said to me, you were like, do you guys look alike? And I'm like, she's the only other blonde in my family. And I used to always think like, am I Lisa's kid? Because I look a lot more like Lisa than I do my mom. So you even just saying like, you guys look alike was big to me.
Yeah, I think it was me really trying to confirm who she was, because we were so new in each other's lives, and you want to really respect and ask for permission to deliver any type of message. And so I was just trying to confirm like, okay, how open is she to this? And she was immediately like, I'm totally open.
I was like, yes.
But I wanted to make sure that it was her, because I don't want to give people false hope, because with mediumship, you cannot, it's really hard to say if you're going to come to me to connect with, say for example, a father who passed, I cannot guarantee that that spirit will come through. But what I can guarantee is that somebody likely will. It may not be who you think it is, whether it be a brother or a sister, a friend, somebody that you may not even expect that you had an impact with, who really wants to communicate with you. And sometimes they come in all at once. So me as the medium, I have to sit and be like, okay, whose energy is this? Who am I actually speaking to? So for you, it was like, I really wanted to confirm it was her. And I was like, does she look like you? Because I could see her as well, and I don't often see. So that goes to show you how powerful her personality and her energy were. And
she's like, talk to me. Like, let me talk.
Yes, I felt that.
Yeah. And then later on, we finally decided to set the space. And what was your experience in that?
Yeah, so I remember sitting there, and with mediumship, sometimes if you allow them to, they will really integrate in your energy to really powerfully deliver that message. And so I remember sitting there, and I was moving stuff around at first after we like prayed and said, cleanse with Palo Santo and sage and whatnot. And then me being like, does your aunt like things a certain way? Because I will start to take on some of the personality and characteristics, and you were like, yeah, she does. She totally
She's never settled.
And then I knew immediately I was really tapped in, and the messages kept flowing.
And they were wild. Like, it was so accurate, and you had no idea. Like, you were like, was she a chain smoker? And I'm like, yes, that's one of her biggest like things. And you said that you saw her sitting there like on a couch just smoking, which is so cool. And then just acknowledging all of the traumas in her life, and how just she visits me. You're like, she's there with you all the time.
She's always there. She is always there. And I'm curious for you, like, being open to it, how was it for you to like really have this because it was your first experience with mediumship.
Yeah.
So how was it for you to really hear the information?
It was so exciting. Not only just to connect with her, but to know that she is still there. Because again, like I said, growing up, I was told like, you go to heaven, you go to hell. And it's like, my aunt's not in hell. She did not live remotely a perfect life. Like, she had a traumatic life and was very bitter at like the last 10 years of her life. Actually her whole life, to be honest. So just to know that, and then also the last few years, I'm like, I believe that there's more. I believe like we move on, but I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what like, was our energy, like was our consciousness still part of that energy? Like, are we still going to be us? Do we like go into another dimension or heaven and we don't remember who we were, and it's just like we're a soul? Like, I didn't understand if I still am me, or if she's still her.
Right.
To hear that we leave this life and we're still us, made me so relieved. Like, so, like that experience made me no longer fear death. And that was like the biggest fear of my entire life. And I've told my audience that multiple times, that in my depression, I would wake up and my first thought was always like, I'm gonna die. Like my parents are gonna die. My dog's gonna, my grandparents are gonna die. And I would just think like how unfair it was. Like it's unfair that we have this life and then it's taken away from us.
Right.
And yeah, it was my biggest fear, and I no longer fear death. And I've heard from so many spiritual shows and spiritual mentors, like as you die, you have like your loved ones all there helping you over, and it's like the most peaceful experience ever. And it's not like the religions necessarily say it, but it's beautiful.
Heaven is very much not like what people describe. It's another dimension, and earth is mirrored after heaven. So you can imagine how magical heaven may be with like the way they live. You like when you're in heaven, you also like still have jobs and things to do. You can become a guide and you can guide other people on this earth. So it's just like another earth, but a lot more peaceful.
So
and
vibrational.
So high vibrational. And that's really what it is. When you enter this next dimension, because that's really what heaven is, you have people welcoming you, and it's just so powerful. And it really, I just want more people to realize that this doesn't need to be this traumatic experience. When you cross over, your soul knows how you're gonna pass. You sign up. I really believe that you have a soul contract. You come here on this earth, and you just know what kind of lifetime you're gonna go into. And as much as people wanna, challenge that, there's a little bit of peace knowing that like you chose this life, and it's like, okay, I must have chose pretty good because I knew what I was doing, right? And so just looking at everything from that perspective of like, I get to choose what life I live. I did choose this soul contract. And yeah, heaven is just not a lot like what people think it is, but it is very a magical place.
Yes. So I have no, like, my biggest fear is gone. Of course, my human ego still is like, I'm scared sometimes.
Yeah, right.
And like, I don't want to die, but I know that it's okay. And like, we all get to still know each other.
Yeah.
You still get to know your family and all of that, so.
Yeah, I mean, they're always around us. They're always guiding us. And I think if you've been really wanting to dive into this work, mediumship, and just getting in that experience, like, because I know how much that changed your life, to take that fear away completely and to get validation of like experiencing memories. Like a lot of times they want to come through so you can re-experience that happiness and that joy. And I remember delivering you some messages where you're like, oh my God, I remember when we did that. Or like, like there were a lot of things that helped you relive that experience with her. And it brings so much joy to us. And when we're in that vibration of joy, it just changes everything. It makes life so much more memorable and rich in meaning. And that's really what it's all about.
And it's so cool. Like going back to the fact that they're still a part of us. Like we can't necessarily physically touch them, but we actually have more access to them at all times now than when they were on this earth. Like I can at any time like think of my Aunt Lisa and like, I believe that in those moments she's gonna come to me. Like I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about her.
I really feel like she's here.
Yes, and she's like, yay, like you get it, I'm here hanging out with me, you can talk to me. Like we can actually talk to them and they can hear us. We might not have as strong abilities as you do at the moment, but like they can hear us. So know that when you're intentionally speaking to them, like they're still there, they're still in your energy, and they're not just gone forever out of your lives until you die. Like they're here now.
Yeah, I mean, I communicate with my grandfather all the time. He passed away a few years ago, and I feel closer to him now than I've ever felt in my entire life. And if I can give a little tip, I would like to, if any of you have a loved one or somebody who crossed over and you're going into a difficult situation, a difficult conversation, a job interview, something that you're really scared about, just for a few minutes before you go, just sit with yourself, take a couple deep breaths, and just ask that person to show up with you. Ask for them to guide you, ask for them to be with you, to help you be calm, to give you the words, to help you fully express yourself, to be the most authentic version of yourself, to just ask them for whatever you believe you need in that moment. And I guarantee you that somebody's gonna come through and you're gonna feel like, wow, I really killed that, or that went perfect. There's gonna be a lot of opportunity if you just ask them to be with you. So anytime you go into a difficult conversation or anything that feels challenging or overwhelming, just ask for them to come in and support you, and you will likely feel different. You'll hear something, or something will go so smooth that you're like, no, there's no way I could have orchestrated that. Like higher beings had to have orchestrated that in order for it to go that smooth.
Yeah. Oh, and also, because this was a fear of mine, that like they're watching me at all times. Like that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Like even when I need some privacy, like I don't want people watching me at all times. And I'm not saying that they are always hovering around like spying on you,
No.
but what advice would you have to set those boundaries with them?
Yeah.
So that they feel more comfortable?
There's already boundaries set, so there's a certain level of privacy that they will always give you. So if you're intimate with a partner or you really want just privacy and alone time, you can ask for it to reassure so it makes you feel good, but that's not like, it's a law of the universe. Like they're not able to be with you in those moments. Energetically, they can be present with you if you wanted them to be for some whatever reason, but that's a law that they cannot be unless asked for. So that's nothing you need to worry about. Like when you're in your bedroom and you want to be alone, they're not gonna show up in that way. And it's not even like they show up. We're all one. We're all connected. So you may feel them. So if you feel them, you want to ask them to leave, you can totally do that. Like I said, just like people, you set boundaries, but they're not always around you. And especially when you want more privacy, they have strict boundaries on that and they will leave. They will not be present. Remember, they can communicate with you through your brain, like your mind, telepathy. So you don't have to even say it out loud. You could just think like, I just want to be alone or whatever, but they really will respect you in all ways. They always want to support you. And they would never, for some people, like I never wanted to see anything. So I set the intention that that's not something I want to experience and they will not cross that boundary. So if you feel fear about seeing anything or even experiencing anything that you may not be ready for, they know what you're ready for and what you're not ready for. So they would never give you anything that you're not ready for, which maybe for some people why they haven't connected is because they still have that fear and they're not really working through it. So they're not ready for it. So your loved ones don't really want to communicate with you as powerfully yet because they just know you're not ready for it.
They don't want to scare you.
Yeah, they don't want to scare you because it can be such a beautiful, empowering, loving experience. They want to make sure that you are really ready for what you're asking for. So they honor your privacy. They honor where you're at. They honor that you may not be ready for certain things. So just if you feel like you are, just make sure that you communicate that and set that intention.
Yeah. And also let me clarify, during our impromptu reading, a cool thing is you were like, don't feed into any of it. Like don't give more information because I want this to be as clear as possible. Because some people are like, oh, mediums, they just like take what you say and like reach for things. But Carissa's like, no, like I want it to be as pure and like I don't want my ego to like grab onto things. And so everything she said just was straight through her. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh,
I can feel you being like, I want to like tell you this story.
I want to talk about this situation. And then my friend Alon, who was there as well, she was sitting there and she knew my Aunt Lisa's situation and she was blown away too because she's like, I'm just observing this and I'm like, I know about that too. Yeah. And it was just the coolest, most life-changing thing. And now like, she's one of my best friends.
I really feel like that moment made our relationship so powerful. I mean, there were already divine reasons why we were connected, but I feel like that was such a bonding experience for all of us, for me included. And to kind of go back to what you were saying about like, just making, like I tell whenever I do a reading, I tell them like there's a certain level of information that I may need. So I want to clarify something with you. But whenever you go to a psychic or a medium, just be thoughtful about how much information you do give them. Not because it changes the reading necessarily, but for you to have that reassurance. Because some people do say, well, I feel like they kind of feed it off that, or they may have known information XYZ. So just be like, I may share what I think is important, but also just be thoughtful about how much you share, not to change the experience, but so that you can leave knowing that person gave me a lot of accurate information and I know I didn't give them a ton. So whether you do a session with me or whoever, just know that there's a certain level of like, I don't want to say like privacy, but there's a certain level of like, you don't want to share too much because you want to make sure that it's a really powerful experience that you cannot deny. Is really what it comes down to, is deniability. You want to make sure that the person who's giving you a reading is really sharing the information they're being channeled versus feeding off of what you're sharing with them.
Seriously, best experience of my life.
Oh, I love that so much. And I think that your audience is really I hope that your audience really, is receptive to some of this information. Even if you don't believe in it, maybe there's just ways that you can incorporate believing in something greater than you and believing that your loved ones are safe. So there's, you know, there can be incremental steps to this, but I just am so happy that you had that experience, that your aunt came through and that really changed your entire perspective, because it did for me too. I mean, I've had readings since I was like 14 years old, and so I've always believed that there was a higher power, but to be able to tap into that new energy, it makes me have so much more faith in everything. I don't fear things as much. There's not to say like my humans isn't like, oh my God, but when it comes to doing things like this, or when it comes to creating programs, or, you know, going into a difficult situation, I'm just like, I'm so protected. I'm so safe. I'm not doing this alone, because there's so many people up there who are with me in this moment. And it's just, it helps you live life so much more peacefully. And when you live life peacefully, you just become so open to so much more abundance, which is what you teach in your manifestation. So yeah. I'd also love to share too, if you're open, I would love to do the 20% off for them too.
Yes, that. But first, I also wanted to put out there that Chris is not only a medium, you also have a master's degree in
clinical psychology.
So she's trained in so many things. You're a business coach. So I always love to put in there like your education. Because it's big. It's like, some people are like, ooh, the woo-woo stuff. Yeah, okay, but like you're an educated woman, and like you know what you're talking about as well.
Because I think it was really important for me to have that background. So because when you learn information about mediumship and spirituality, there can be some things where you're like, I didn't want to know that necessarily, but like hopefully if you have a good medium, they will never give you information you're not ready for. But it can be a certain level of like, not heaviness, but just information. And I've always been led to this work, and so for me, combining my credentials and like my clinical psychology background with these spiritual gifts really helped me be that much more powerful medium, because I can coach and guide people through the information that they're receiving, which sometimes it's like, wow, it changes your whole paradigm of everything in life. And so I just really wanted to make sure that I was able to do that. So I kind of call myself a medium, but also a psycho-spiritual mentor and coach, because I combine the spirituality with the psychology. And I think that's like helped me really differentiate myself.
So cool. And now for the special gift you have for my audience.
Yes. So I would love to offer you 20% off of a reading. I just want to honor the space that everyone's in, and now being open to these gifts and mediumship and spirituality, I just really want to give you a thank you for having me on your channel, and also give you a gift and an opportunity that you may not have otherwise had. Because I know that investments and investing in yourself, which you obviously do if you're probably on this channel, and just investing in yourself and making sure that it feels really loving and abundant. And so I wanted to offer you 20% off as a gift for gratitude, and just to let you know that it is safe to spend money on yourself and invest in spiritual advancement and just all the things. So, and the wait list below, you can go ahead and just put Annie referred you, and I'll lovingly give you 20% off.
Yay. And I highly, highly, highly recommend you take up that offer, because Carissa is amazing. Speaking of Carissa being amazing, if you're interested in seeing her do a live channeling with me for you guys, please click the like button and let us know in the comments how interested you are, because I personally would love to see that happen, but I want to know if you're down for that as well. And also, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me typically on Instagram. That's where I love to hang out. So my information is Carissa Johnsen. That's the Instagram handle name. You can find the spelling of my name in the title of this video. You can also find me in my Facebook community called Freedom Designers, and I also have a podcast called Freedom Designers. So I would love to see you there. I'd love to support you, and I would love to just help you understand the world and find more peace and more clarity in your life.
Yeah, and on top of that, in her sessions and everything, and just as a coach in general, she is like the best of the best. Like, you're the best coach. All of us, we're like, Carissa's the best coach ever. So you wanna get more of her, I promise you, and you'll see more of her around here. But with that, thank you so much for being here. Yay, and I will see you guys soon with a new video. Bye.
Bye-bye.